Mr. Borla, can I ask you, when did you know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission? How long did you know that without saying it publicly?
What I did, I was able to get something approved that, has proven to save a lot of lives. Some people say I saved 100 million lives worldwide.
On today's show, we're going to talk about how Donald Trump, who calls Lindsey Graham a rhino, is going to be campaigning at a rally with that rhino as his guest. Why does Trump keep giving Lindsey Graham a bigger platform than he deserves? Let me know what you think in the comments. CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, was confronted in the streets of Davos for the World Economic Forum meeting by Avi Yamini and Ezra Levant of Rebel News. The full video is on my Twitter page at Legendary Energy if you want to see it in my feed. They asked a lot of interesting questions. And the third part of the story is it's 2023 and Donald Trump is still repeating the massive lie that his vaccines, yes, his vaccines, he wants credit for them, not the FDA or Fauci, it's his. He says they saved 100 million lives, which is a claim I haven't heard anyone say, and he has yet to say where he sourced that from.
What I did, I was able to get something approved that, has proven to save a lot of lives. Some people say I saved 100 million lives worldwide, but I was able to get that done in 9 months versus 5 years to 12 years, if it ever got.
He also took another shot at Ron DeSantis and said that Trump himself was never for lockdowns. He never said to lockdown. We'll check those claims with video evidence on today's show. Should be a great one. And if you stay tuned till the end, I want to better explain what I was talking about with the Crowder expose contract video, because I think I could word it better and I have some interesting points that might be of interest to you. Maybe not, but the show starts now either way.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast. Today we have 3 stories. First one is Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump collaborate for a rally. The second one is a brief intro into a World Economic Forum. The CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, was there, and he was confronted by Rebel News. I'm going to play a short clip of that. The people of Rebel News seem to think the full clip's going to get banned. Definitely not on Twitter. Twitter doesn't ban stuff like that. So go to my Twitter or their Twitter to see the full video. It's like 6 minutes long. They ask him a bunch of questions. I mean, he doesn't answer, but it was interesting to see him actually get confronted by a real journalist or somebody pushing back a little bit. And then the third story is Donald Trump did a new 2023 interview with Real America Voice, where he doubled down and said he thinks he saved 100 million lives with this vaccine. He was asked about the safety of it and the efficacy, and he pretty much just sidestepped like he always does and just won't address the question. And pretty much like always, the conservative host does little to nothing to really actually push back. We'll talk about that, but let's just look at this. This came out a couple days ago. Trump is turning up rally season again. And nothing says drain the swamp like a rally in South Carolina with Governor Henry McMaster and Senator Lindsey Graham. Of all the swampiest rhinos, I would say Lindsey Graham is a top 5 swampy rhino. I mean, did you ever see the video of him in Ukraine? I believe it was with John McCain and a few other politicians, and it's 2016 before Trump even gets in office, and they're basically waging war on Russia from Ukraine, talking about how they need to fight them. Like, he's the ultimate deep state, uniparty, rhino, warmonger, neocon, Zionist, whatever you want to call him. He's the ultimate swamp creature, Lindsey Graham. Donald Trump is very popular, right? Whether you like it or not, Trump is very popular, has a lot of sway. He puts on bigger concerts than Kid Rock, you know what I'm saying? He fills a crowd. And he's using his power to give it to Lindsey Graham. I mean, Lindsey Graham couldn't even fill a classroom, nobody, unless it was with donors and a bunch of warmongers. So this is my question to you. I've said my piece enough. Why would Trump be giving this type of power to Lindsey Graham? And according to his email or whatever blast he puts out, he said 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, to unveil his South Carolina leadership team in Columbia, South Carolina, with joined by Governor Henry McMaster, Senator Lindsey Graham, members of the South Carolina delegation, state lawmakers, as he unveils his leadership team. What type of drain the swamp leadership team is going to have Lindsey Graham on it? And why is he giving a platform to this guy? I'm not saying he shouldn't like give him a stage or like as far as like debate him or like we should blacklist him completely. from like public sphere. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to like cancel his mouth. I'm just saying I'm not going to put on a concert and give Lindsey Graham the stage. I'm going to give it to somebody I actually like. What do you guys think in the comment section? To me, before I move on to the second story, I think Trump is a rhino. It's like he hangs out with rhinos, he gives platforms to rhinos, he hires deep staters, he hires pharmacy lobbyists, he runs around talking crazier about the vaccine than Bill Gates and Fauci even do. And then, but he's different because he's just doing everything the rhinos want him to do to fight the rhino. I mean, I'm kind of over it. I think he is a rhino, and I think more and more people are going to start confronting that reality. I saw Stu Peters say on Twitter, and I don't watch Stu Peters, and I don't really know what his stance on Trump is, but I feel like he's one of those guys who's heavily critical of the vaccine, but also seems to really like Trump. I saw him tweet the other day, basically either Trump has to condemn the product that he keeps bragging about, or he's in on it. And I appreciate Stu Peters for that. I don't know what all Stu does, but I think that's a step forward for any Trump supporter of any sort. And I don't know that he is one. I just assume so. It's like, it's okay to confront a politician when they're not doing like this whole like idol worship, like cult around, we can't question him, but we question Kevin McCarthy and everyone else. It's got to end. So thank you, Stu Peters, for saying that, regardless of what we agree and disagree on, call it out. Be like, either you say something honest about this or you're in on it. That's my stance. Thank you, Stu. And also Red Eagle Politics, who, they're just a Twitter account that I follow. They're like super GOP, super Trump, super Republican. Like they love Trump. They're always bashing everybody who criticizes Trump. I even basically saw them come out recently after, I don't know if it was the Lindsey Graham thing or something else Trump did. I'm not sure what, because the blunders just keep adding up. But even they were like, I don't even know if he could win in 2024. And, and I'm not saying that's true or not. Who knows what could happen in the election? Anything's possible when Joe Biden, a living fossil, is your opponent. If Trump beats DeSantis or whoever else in the primary, I think he's the worst candidate. He's the weaker candidate, but anything's possible. But anyway, even Red Eagle Politics, who's the biggest Trump fan, is starting to like feel a certain way, because at a certain point, just like it's weekend at Bernie's with Biden and that illusion's going to fall. I see a lot of that same with Trump. It's like they're trying to basically make him into somebody who he's not. I'm not saying he's still the man. He's still Donald Trump. He still lived an amazing life. He's a builder. He's a entrepreneur. He's The Apprentice was an amazing show that taught kids entrepreneurship. It wasn't just a reality show. It was actually a smart show. Mark Cuban's like a wannabe Trump. He just follows in his footsteps and cries about him. Whatever. He's done a lot of cool things, but when it comes to being a politician, in my opinion, Trump is kind of like a rhino swamper now, and he acts like them. He talks like them. He does what they do. He hangs out with them. He's not really with the populist movement anymore. Everybody from the Hodge twins to DC Drano to typical liberal to Candace Owens to, anybody that you follow, you look at their rhetoric and it's all very similar, because the populist right wing has a certain, we don't think that Operation Warp Speed was a good thing. We don't think that these are the greatest products on earth. Like, this is what we believe. Everybody kind of has unity, and they're all acting like Donald Trump's the leader of this movement, yet Donald Trump doesn't sound anything like any of the accounts I follow. It's like, how long are people going to play Weekend at Bernie's with Trump? We have a great movement here. Donald Trump did a lot of interesting stuff, but when you have, I follow hundreds of Republican influencers, they're all very similar in like how they stand up to the truth, and they're acting like the guy leading them doesn't, share their values on a lot of these topics. Like it's feeling very Weekend at Bernie's to me, and I think that illusion's going to crack, as we've been saying since 2020, because the only one who could stop Trump in 2024 is himself, and he's surrounded by a bunch of yes men who just will never tell him not to hang out with Lindsey. Right? It's like, yeah, dude, like that's cool. Like, is it though? And I'm not saying DeSantis is your hero, your best friend, but I think we need to start challenging our Republican politicians. You don't have to hate Trump. You don't have to cry about my videos. Challenge them. They're there to serve you. They're working with the swamp and rhinos. They're playing good cop, bad cop constantly. They failed us. Challenge them, just like Stu and Red Eagle Politics did. That's good. Here's the clip. I'm not going to play the full clip because I'm sure it will get banned or censored to some extent. And if you really want to, watch it, go to my Twitter page, Legendary Energy. But here's Albert Bourla being confronted by Rebel News, and it's a 6-minute clip. Long story short, Albert Bourla doesn't answer any questions, but it's interesting to see him confronted on the street.
Mr. Bourla, can I ask you, When did you know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission? How long did you know that without saying it publicly?
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Answer that question. I mean, we now know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission, but why did you keep it secret? You said it was 100% effective, then 90%, then 80%, then 70%. But we now know that the vaccines do not stop transmission. Why did you keep that secret?
So I have an interesting point to make. So you got to understand with the COVID vaccines, right? There are no long-term trials. The long-term trials, look around you. This is the trial, and this is the real trial because 100 people, 500 people, 700 people, sponsored by Pfizer, independent study. Yeah, whatever. The real trial is hundreds of millions of people injected themselves with Johnson & Johnson's, AstraZeneca's, Pfizer's, Moderna's. Here's the real long-term trial. Look around. This is it. With that being said, I think it's interesting when they're doing this rush, Operation Warp Speed, faster than the speed of light through trials. It usually takes 5 years, but now it only takes 7 months. I'm a hero. Yeah, that's so cool. But the point that I'm trying to get to is think about the book. I'd grab it, but it's too far on my bookshelf. How to Lie with Statistics. One of my favorite books I've ever read. It was on Bill Gates' reading list. It's almost like they show you these things and then tell you can't believe them. So I read the book, and it's got all these ways to lie with statistics. Think about, okay, you do a study. You don't have long-term trials, so you just do a study in 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. Think about this real quick. In the average 6 months, I'm not saying this is a trial because I don't know the exact ones, but I'm just going to use an example. Say it's a 6-month trial. In the average 6 months, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, is everybody getting COVID-19? Is everybody getting sick? Do you get sick every 6 months? Do you get sick every 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 7 months, whatever the trials? Everybody doesn't get sick all the time. Some people go years without getting sick. Like, it's not that common to get sick all the time. And everybody knows that flu and COVID season is the winter. That's when people get more sick, always, for all of humanity, at least as far as I've been alive. So if you conduct a 6-month trial from, let's just say, I'm not saying they did this, but let's just say you did, March through, I don't know, whatever 6 months is, August, September, and it comes back that, we used 300 people and, none of them got sick. That means the vaccine's 100% effective. Well, what would happen if those 300 people didn't get the vaccine? Would they definitely get sick? I mean, so this is the way you lie with statistics. It's like maybe that helped them, but maybe most people aren't getting, and when you say, it protected them from hospitalization, sure, but how many people who get COVID-19 go to the hospital anyway? Like, is it 1% or 2%? And, these are things that they're not really, so they do this quick study in Albert Oregon. Look, it's 100% effective. It's 100% effective. For how long was the trial? How long? 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? And how many people did you use? Because they didn't get sick in that span of months? That's why you do 5-year trials. That's why the before Operation Warp Speed, Big Pharma, Socialist, Trump, Fauci, Moderna, Pfizer scam, before all this, they took 5 years to study this stuff. And I'm going to play the clip later, but Trump keeps bragging like, I don't even know if the vaccine would have gotten done if I didn't rush it. It's like, that would have been a great thing, because if you study it for 5 years, they released it to the public being like, look, we've done quick trials and it's 100% effective. And then everybody gets it and everybody gets mad. And then it's like, actually, no, it's not. It doesn't prevent transmission like we thought it did. That's why you take 5 years. In my opinion, Donald Trump is an evil man. Like, wow, you rushed Big Pharma so they got their product out, and now you're getting, I'm going to play the interview in a second. He gets asked a question. The interviewer basically says, I don't believe it's as safe and effective as they said it was. And Trump goes, I didn't mandate it. It saved 100 million lives. Florida closed down. He's a politician. He's fighting DeSantis through his answer. The question was about safety and efficacy, Trump. It wasn't about mandates. It's safety and efficacy of the product. And he goes and says, it saved 100 million lives. Trump does not give a shit about anybody, about anything. He's a rhino. He's a scammer. He's a big pharma shill. And the second the base stands up to that is the second we get results. It's like listening to this interview, I'm like, he is such a liar. Speaking of liars, here's Liana Wen from Washington Post. She wrote an op-ed that says, we are overcounting COVID deaths and hospitalizations. That's a problem. Wow. Who also said we were overcounting deaths and hospitalizations like 2 years ago? I'm trying to think. Me, one person. I did multiple videos on it, citing Deborah Birx of whatever, the scarf. What does she work for? Like the Federal Scarf Organization, just Dora the Explorer, whatever, Home Department of Homeland, Dora the Explorer wannabe, role play, whatever. But Deborah Birx literally said on stage that, they were liberal with their counting. The health department head of Illinois, whatever her name was, she was like, oh yeah, like they all explained this 2 years ago. I said this multiple times in my videos in April. Elon Musk is someone high profile who went on the Joe Rogan report in May 2020, and he said that they were overcounting deaths and COVID cases, et cetera, and hospitalizations. And now, 2 years later, 3 years later, now all of a sudden, Liana Wen, the biggest mandate shill, the biggest COVID shill, now she's writing op-eds saying exactly what we said. There's a lot of people telling the truth. I mean, there's way more not telling the truth, but really, find someone that actually told you the truth when it mattered in April 2020 and listen to them, because you're probably going to get the news 2 years ahead of schedule, because what they do is they lie, they push their agenda, they use the stuff as fear, they use it for a socialist scam, so they give Big Pharma like $20 billion, then they buy their own products with the government, then they own the patent, then they scare the crap about you, then they lie about efficacy, then everybody has to get the product because they're scared or they don't want to lose their job, and then once you get it, now they made their money, now they got what they wanted, now the truth starts to come out. I told people, I told my family especially, I told the world, I did these reports, I told people, this is what they're doing. It's obvious. I have the proof. I have the evidence. You could see it. Make a decision for yourself, sure, but let me tell you about the liability clause. Let me tell you about what's going on. Let me tell you about how they're counting cases. Let me tell you about the PCR test. I want to show you all this stuff. You can make your own decision, but for me, it was obvious. And now the vindication's coming, but the sad part is hundreds of millions of people had their hand forced. So, I played my little part. Anybody watching me in 2020, 2021, you could have been 2 years ahead of schedule on this and a lot of big pharma stuff. I'm not saying this because I'm anti-pharma, like they've never done anything good. They have some good products, but, this whole thing was just so obvious. And it's just crazy to see Liana Wen saying what I said 2 years ago now. But I would have got banned 2 years ago. And this video might get in trouble. It's like, I'll talk about that later with the Crowder stuff, but it's like every day I walk into my job, which is my computer, they could always just take it away overnight. It's not fun, but there's harder jobs out there. Cry me a river. Anyway, let's watch the video. I don't have the full interview, but if you want to watch the full interview, Real America Voice Water Cooler, I forget the guy's name, but he got the Trump interview, and he asked Trump specifically about the safety and efficacy of the products. Here's the clip from it.
What I did, I was able to get something approved that, has proven to save a lot of lives. Some people say I saved 100 million lives worldwide, but I was able to get that done in 9 months versus 5 years to 12 years, if it ever got done. I got the FDA to do things that it was pretty amazing what we were able to do. But as far as using it, as far as the utilization,
so it's time to stop calling it the Fauci vaccine. It's the Trump vaccine. Sarah Huckabee Sanders called it the Trump vaccine when she was trying to scam the South into getting it. Let's be honest. It's not the FDA. It's Trump. Trump rushed the FDA, which he thinks is some great accomplishment. He's like, it wouldn't have even come out if I didn't do it. That would have been a good thing, dude. I'm totally fine with this having taken 5 years. And by the time it takes 5 years, yeah, most people wouldn't want to get it. That's the point, dummy. You work for Big Pharma, dummy. You took $1 million from Pfizer, dummy. You hired Alex Azar, former Eli Lilly executive and pharmacy lobbyist, to run Human Health Services, who declared the emergency that provided the protection liability shield from Big Pharma, dummy. You hired Scott Gottlieb, who ran off the Pfizer after his position in your White House, dummy. Wow, you're so cool, Big Pharma, man. I want you guys to watch the full interview because he's a really good scammer. The guy's like, the safety and efficacy isn't what we thought. And Trump's like, but I didn't mandate it though. But it saved 100 million lives though. But I never locked down though. But Florida's bad because I want to beat Ron DeSantis conservative though. But I'm so great though. I rushed the FDA though. And it's like, he said this, that's not the question. Congratulations, you never mandated it. That's great. I'm glad. That's why I voted for you over Biden. You're better than Democrats on that topic. We agree. That wasn't the question, though, Donald Trump, Mr. Scammer. And none of these conservative influencers have the balls to call Trump out. Yes, Donald Trump, you saved 100 million lives. You never locked down. This guy's agreeing with him like, oh, you never were for lockdowns. I'm going to play the clip of that, and I provided receipts. Take a look at this. This is called real journalism, something that no right-wing bootlickers seem to want to do anymore when their side is complicit in the scheme.
For instance, when I said, I never said close up. I never said we're going to close our country up. A lot of Republicans, now Florida did close for a period of time, as you know.
What's wrong with having to close it down? We saved millions of lives. A lot of people say we should have gone herd. Let's go herd. Ask him, how are they doing in Brazil? He's a great friend of mine. Not good. You heard about Sweden, right? Too much. Ask him how they doing in Sweden. We saved millions of lives, and now it's...
I never said we're going to close our country up. I never said we're going to close our country up.
What's wrong with having to close it down? We saved millions of lives. A lot of people say we should have gone herd. Let's go herd. Ask him, how are they doing in Brazil? He's a great friend of mine. Not good. You heard about Sweden. Told the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, that I disagree strongly with his decision to open certain facilities which are in violation of the Phase 1 guidelines for the incredible people of Georgia. They're incredible people. I love those people. They are.
I never said we're going to close our country up. I never said we're going to close our country up.
A month and a half after he quarterbacked 15 days to slow the spread with his pharma friends Fauci and Jerome Adams, he tweeted this: despite reports to the contrary, Sweden is paying heavily for its decision to not lock down. The United States made the correct decision. So for him to say this,
I never said we're going to close our country up,
is an obvious lie. Yeah, DeSantis shut down as well and should be criticized, but Trump's just campaigning pretending like he was never for it, which is 100% a lie. He flip-flopped more than a fish on a trampoline. I like that. I think I made that up. Maybe someone said it in the past, but he flip-flopped more than a fish on a trampoline. I've been saying that. Anyway, here's a few things. One, the question, I want you to watch the full interview. I might post it on my Telegram. I posted it, go to Real America Voice and watch the whole thing, give them credit. But I have it on my Twitter, the full one, because he asked the specific question. He says, Trump, I know you're proud of your vaccine, but the safety and the efficacy doesn't seem to be what they said it was. And Trump doesn't answer the question. He says it saved 100 million lives. And then the guy slightly pushes back, but he's like, yeah, he's like, I never locked down, but Florida locked down. Trump is fighting with DeSantis. The truth is, Florida did lock down. This is true. DeSantis should be criticized. He should be questioned. Florida didn't stay open the whole time. They reversed their decision maybe earlier than some, but not as early as Georgia, not as early as Kristi Noem, certainly not as early as Sweden. So I'm all for criticizing DeSantis over his decision to stay locked down. But if you watch that video, when Kemp tried to open up, Trump said he disagreed with the decision. He said he thought Sweden was stupid for not locking down. He said the United States made the right decision for locking down. That was on April 30th, guys. That's a month and a half after the 15 days to slow the spread. The truth was obvious. I'm screaming from the mountaintops, Trump, open the country up. You're getting scammed. You're getting lied to. You can find my response to that exact tweet. And I said, why is he selling communism to the world? Like, oh, Sweden's bad for staying open, but America's good for locking down. I'm like, that's a communist statement. Like, lockdowns are good, open is bad. And this is on April 30th. April 30th. And now he's trying to beat DeSantis. So he's going with this narrative. DeSantis locked his country down, but I never was for it. He's lying. And here's the thing. DeSantis did lock down. DeSantis did sell the vaccine. DeSantis deserves to be criticized. DeSantis has a lot of rhino friends too. I'm all for people criticizing DeSantis. I don't want you to cakewalk this guy into the White House without holding him accountable like every other politician. But Trump is like trying to play the angle that he somehow has the moral high ground over DeSantis with lockdowns and, vaccines, et cetera. And he doesn't. He's worse on almost every topic. Like, DeSantis sold the vaccine 3 times. And I recall he made a huge overstatement and a lie at least once or twice that I've seen, like bad lies about the vaccine and like, you won't die if you get it. Like, DeSantis did say that. You can find the videos. The point that I'm getting to is he did that a few times. I'm not saying to cover it up, share it. I'm not opposed to it. But if you compare and you're a reasonable person, whether you like Trump or DeSantis, Trump has done it hundreds of times, and he's still doing it. DeSantis is now taking on Big Pharma. DeSantis hired Joseph Lombardo. It might be fake. I'm fine with you being like, it's just a dog and pony show. Sure. But that's why people, it's like Trump still hasn't come around. It's 2023, and Trump is saying his vaccine saved 100 million lives. Even Bill Gates doesn't say that. Fauci doesn't say that. Why? Because it's fake. It's a lot. Who told Trump that his vaccine saved 100 million lives? That's the biggest lie ever. Trump is just a sleazy salesman for the vaccine. He's the father of the vaccine. He rushed the FDA. He's the reason it's here. He's the reason it got here so fast. And now he's defending his investment with Big Pharma. I'm not saying he's making a cash cow off it, but it's his legacy now. He wants to hug the vaccine like he hugged the American flag in that picture. That's who he wants to be. Why? I have no idea. It's like Tom Brady after a great career being like, I beat my wife and I want to be known as the wife beater now. It's like, and then he's running around saying, I beat my wife, I beat my wife. I'm not, that's a rough example and a rough metaphor, but it's like Tom Brady did so many amazing things in his life. Trump did amazing things in his life. Why he wants to be so proud of the worst thing he ever did and the most scammy, sold out thing he ever did, I have no idea. But in my view, I'm not voting for him. So I'm going to say this real quick as it wraps up, because I know there's a lot of infighting about Trump and DeSantis right now. I'm all for criticism of DeSantis. I'm all for calling out the Rhino connections. But one thing that I ask influencers to do, you don't have to listen to me, but I think this is the honest thing to do. Like the people who obsess over Trump, you have to stop acting like he's not in that category also. Like they're playing this game of DeSantis is so corrupt and sold out, but Trump is our best friend. It's like, if you're going to say DeSantis is sold out, so is Trump. You look at certain donors that DeSantis has, Trump used to have them. You look at the connections to Big Pharma, Trump's worse on that topic. You say DeSantis sold the vaccine a few times, Trump did it 100 times. DeSantis came around on the topic, Trump's still stubborn. Trump still hang out with Lindsey Graham. Let's stop this fake fairy tale where Trump has no Rhino friends, Trump never got donor money, Trump's not corrupt at all. He's just as bad as DeSantis, if not worse or equal. So if you're going to play that game, just be honest about it. Don't be like, if you prefer DeSantis over Trump, then you must be. It's like, no, I do off of Big Pharma. That's a huge issue to me. I think Big Pharma has swallowed up our food supply, our government, our media, among other things. And certain topics that are important to me also, I find them almost equal on. So, there's a real debate to be had about which one you like better, but stop acting like, it's crazy that people would prefer DeSantis. Trump is still lying about Operation Warp Speed. He calls himself the father of the vaccine, and all of these conservative influencers, most of the ones I follow, they don't like the vaccine. Yet they pretend like Trump never did it. Wow, he didn't mandate it. That's great. That's important. With that being said, don't call it the Fauci vaccine anymore. Don't call it the Bill Gates vaccine. Call it the Trump vaccine. He wants credit. That's your daddy. That's the guy you refuse to do real journalism on. Stop doing Weekend at Bernie's, living in a fake reality. Give him credit for what he wants. He's the vaccine man. He rushed the FDA. He rushed Fauci. He's the reason it's here so fast. He's covering up what's going on with it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He dodges questions. That's what he's doing. Speaking of which, I just happened to wear this shirt. I got this at an event. Some firefighters gave it to me, Firefighters for Freedom. I heard that firefighters in Los Angeles are still being forced to take it or they get kicked out, which is terrible. So I just want to stand in solidarity, not with Ukraine, but with, the firefighters and anybody still being kicked out of work in any country. It's absolutely insane that they're still doing that. Before I end my video, I just wanted to kind of better explain what I was talking about in the Steven Crowder video yesterday, because I kind of listened back and I was like, oh, I forgot one of the main points I was trying to make. So let me explain it real quick, just because I think it's a fascinating and interesting dive into contracts and what's going on in conservative Inc. So Crowder put out this huge video where he was like, I'm going to expose Con Inc. sort of, but I'm not going to name names, and I'm only going to tell you some things, but I'm mad, but give me. So he did this sort of I'm mad at Con Inc. I'm mad at Big Con. They're working with big tech. So everybody gravitated for it, and most people obviously loved it because it's like, oh, finally an influencer that's not just doing nothing, okay, they're calling out their own side and the corruption involved in it. And then it ended up being all about his contract. He got a bad contract, and basically in his head, it's like, well, I got a bad contract, so that, and then he made all these claims about it without showing a lot of things from the contract. Here's what I want to say first of all. No offense, I don't hate these people. I'm not wishing for their demise. I have friends who work at pretty much every media company at this point. But I don't really care about Daily Wire, Blaze TV. I don't know who Crowder's talking about. But I don't specifically care. It's Crowder's positioning himself as this huge outsider. He's worked with Blaze TV, CRTV. He's been a corporate guy his whole life. So to me, it kind of sounds like a guy who's been with the big corporations. Now he's like trying to get a new deal, like he's free or something, and trying to like negotiate, and he got a crappy deal and he's like mad at it, you know? And I'm not saying that makes him a bad person or anything. I'm just saying I don't really have a dog in this race. I don't care about any of these corporations. I don't work for them. I'm not like a massive fan of, so I'm not giving you like I'm defending Daily Wire or Blaze TV or whoever he's talking about, because we don't know. But you know, I'm highly critical of people at Daily Wire like Ben Shapiro and etc. So I'm not doing it to defend them. I'm just an honest person. If Shapiro does something true and it's true, it's true. It doesn't matter if I don't like other things he said. You know, I have my take on all that, and everybody who watches my show knows I'm not defending Big Con. I call them out more than Steven Crowder does. I probably spent more time calling out conservative gatekeepers and liars for the last 3 years than Crowder's ever done. Like, he never does that. This is like the first time he said, oh, cool. Okay. So with that being said, I'm not gatekeeping for anybody. I'm just giving it to you raw. So when I watched the Crowder thing, I'm like, this is going to be good. And then he holds up his contract, okay? And I'm going to go through the 3 things and explain it better than I did yesterday because I realized I left some stuff out. So the first thing he showed was the fact that he would get penalized for $1 million or $250,000 if he didn't fulfill his obligations of ad reads and if he didn't fulfill his obligations of like content being created. Here's where I believe he's not being fully transparent. I mean, he's obviously not because it's redacted, but in contracts like this, here's 2 questions that I have. And I'm not saying that you don't like to, you have to like Crowder, dislike Crowder. I'm just giving you my perspective. So now when you hear his video, you hear my video, and you can compare and contrast and probably learn something, whether you agree with me or not, off of what I'm saying. Because unlike other influencers that are just gonna be like, oh, this is so great, I'm giving you real context. I'm telling you the truth. All right, so he said, I get a fine if I do this for $1 million. I get a fine if I do this for $250,000. That was his first gripe with the bad contract he got. Here's the question though. He didn't show what the fine exactly was for. Like, how much content do you have to make every month in order to fulfill your contract? And how much are you getting paid? And some people said to me, oh, it doesn't matter. It absolutely does matter. And I'm going to explain it in this live stream. But first of all, if you work for 7-Eleven and you have, you know, instead of signing like a weekly contract or a daily contract, you have like a, you know, a lot of people are on salary, a monthly salary, et cetera, instead of like day to day, hour to hour, and you miss a week of work or 2 weeks of work, or you miss 3 days of work and you don't have 6 days, you also get a penalty, except your penalty is not $250,000 because you're not making $250,000. So if you're making $20 an hour at you know, 7-Eleven and you don't show up for 3 months out of the year, you're losing thousands of dollars that you're supposed to earn for the company. This is what everybody has to deal with in every single industry. So the question is, how much were you making Steven Crowder? I'm not mad. I'm not jealous. I don't care. But if you're going to expose these people and half-ass it, I'm not an NPC. It's not like I have no, I'm asking this question. Is your contract for $5 million, $2 million, $1 million, $10 million? Is it a 5-year contract? How much content do you have to make? Because if you look at his channel, he hasn't made a video in 4 weeks before that video. So it's not like he makes daily videos. If you're going to pay Crowder millions of dollars, don't you want him to make content and show up to work? Like, he's framing as if I have a sick day, they could penalize me. Like, if I get in an accident, they could penalize me. That's everybody's like, if you get in a crazy accident and you work for somebody and you only have 7 sick days, I'm not saying it makes it right, but if you can't show up to work for 2 months, you know, depending if you have a union or not, you might also be in the same predicament. I'm not saying it's right, but he's acting as if he's this huge victim because the numbers are so big. I would get $1 million fine or $250,000 fine. How much money are you making, bro? Like, are you making Joe Rogan type money where they're going to fine you 1% of your income? Like, he's not being genuine, in my opinion, about it. Not that he's not genuine in general, but it's like, how much are you making? Because that would provide context to how bad of a deal that is. That's just the truth of it. Then he fast forward and he talks about the big tech situation. So I'm going to say this real quick. I'm independent. I don't work for anybody. I own 100% of my stuff. That is what it is. If I don't work for a month, I lose money. If I don't work for a week, I lose money. If I don't work for a day, I lose money. that just is how my job works. It's very hard to make money when you're not making content. It's like the same as everybody else. I'm not special because I'm a content creator, and neither is Crowder. Yeah, we make more than some people. He makes more than me. I make more than some. But like, he's acting as if everybody doesn't have to work in order to make, like, it's stressful that people have to go to work, and if they don't make content, they're not going to get paid. Yeah, tell that to a carpenter who goes to work six days a week. Like, I work 6-7 days a week. Yeah, it's stressful. It's not ideal, but it's like, I'm not that special. There's people doing electricity, owning plumbing businesses. Like, they also have to work or they don't get paid. Like, that's just how it works. So if you're a corporation that's going to pay Steven Crowder, here's some other things he left out of it. He has a massive team. I don't have a team. So if somebody signed me, there's a lot less, like overhead. Like, you don't have to really do much for me. I'll do it myself. Maybe buy me a camera. I don't know. But he has a lot of overhead. How many employees does Steven Crowder have? I have no idea. 10, 12? Someone said, I can't confirm this, but he's publicly said he pays them like 6 figures or something. I don't know if that's true, but some people seem to have said that. He probably pays his staff maybe like up to $1 million a year. So he has massive overhead because he doesn't work by himself. With that being said, what kind of deal did he sign? Is he going to pay for his own staff, or is this company going to take the money that he pays his staff and pay his staff for him? If that's the case, this company, whether I like them or not, is going to want to protect themselves from losing money. You know what I'm saying? Who wants to just pay millions of dollars so Steven Crowder could take a 2-month break when he has 12 employees that they're paying, like $30 an hour or something, and they're not providing content? So that's my question, is like, how much were you making? And the reason I'm saying this too is because some people sell their stuff for a lot of money. Justin Bieber just sold his music catalog. How much of it? I have no idea. But Justin Bieber sold his music catalog for, I think, $200 million. Oh my God, they're asking for my channels. Like, then don't sign the deal, bro. But Justin Bieber did. They said, give me your music royalties and we'll give you $200 million. Here's all my stuff. I have $200 million. Now you can run around the world and do whatever you want, and you don't own your music. You'll probably lose money over the course of 40 years, but you just cashed out $200 million. It's like when Snapchat was going to get sold to Facebook for $2 billion. They could have sold and made money, but they didn't. Now they're worth more. That's business. That's music business. That's news business. That's every business. So he's acting like, oh my gosh, they wanted to own my channels. I wouldn't want to give up my main YouTube channel or Facebook channel or anything. But here's the thing. How much were they offering you, Crowder? Because if they offer you $10 million, $20 million, like, maybe some people want to, like, he sounds stressed out. Maybe you don't want to do it that much anymore, where you're like, listen, I'll take a $5 or $10 million contract. You take control of part or all of my social media. I make a cash cow. I make more money in 3 years with you than I would have made in 20 years of my life. And then I ride off into the sunset and go do something else. That's not that crazy of a situation. And then he's saying like every kid's going to deal with this sort of stuff. Look at this $1 million penalty. Like every kid's going to, dude, no kid is dealing with this. And I could guarantee you that maybe some people are locked into bad deals. I wouldn't doubt it, but there's also probably a lot of people at Conservative Inc. that are being controlled in other ways that he never talks about, obviously, but it's not like the contract, like everybody sells all their social media for the contract. I don't believe that everybody gets that contract. I think he's lying personally. It's like, I'm sure a lot of people at Blaze, Daily Wire, etc., they own their own social media. And I bet you some don't. But there's a trade-off. That's like, if you want to sell your music catalog for $100 million, you sell it, but then you don't own it. There's always a negotiation. So if I were Crowder, and I'm not trying to, it is what it is, you can just, I've had contracts that were so bad, I said, take off that whole page, take off that whole section. He could have done that to the company privately, just been like, that whole section about you owning my social media, that's a no-no. Take that out, take that out, take that out, take that out, and then we have a deal. I've negotiated contracts before where there was whole pages that got taken out, and they listened to me, and sometimes they didn't. But the point is, like, that's not that crazy. And then he's like, every kid's going to get taken advantage like this. There's a huge difference between Steven Crowder and some random kid who's just starting. If you're Steven Crowder, I'm just using an example, and you go to Daily Wire, he has massive leverage. He doesn't have to sign the deal. He could rip it up. He could start his own company. He can negotiate for a better deal. He could go to a different corporation and try to get another deal. He could tell them to take 10 pages of it out and give a better, like, he has leverage, right? He's Steven Crowder. It's not like he's just some, and then he's like, random kids have to deal with this. If you're a random kid with no social media, And Daily Wire says, we want to make you into a star. You have no money, no social media, no power, no leverage. And Daily Wire says, hey, we will make you into a star. We have tens of millions of dollars or whatever. We have, Candace Owens. We'll put you on this show. We'll put you on that show. We're going to own your social media, but you're going to go from making nothing to six figures, and we'll build your brand, and you'll own other stuff, but just not your YouTube channels. I'm sure some kids would sign that deal. And here's the thing, even though I don't really like Daily Wire to a full extent, that's not a bad deal if you have no leverage. Like, that's just how the business world works. If you have Steven Crowder leverage, you don't have to sign the deal. If you're a nobody and you want to go that route and you want Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh to plug you in and make you a star in 6 months, you have to give up something for that. And boo hoo hoo hoo, if you don't want to do that, go work your ass off for 10 years and don't get the help from Matt Walsh and Daily Wire and Jeremy Boring and get all their money, and then see how long it takes. It's like, those are the paths in this world. It's just like if you pay somebody to clean your house, you're not cleaning the house. You could clean your own house, but you don't want to clean your own house, so you pay someone else to do it. It's the same thing in the industry. It's like, do you want to work your ass off? And here's a point that I'm just trying to make, where as somebody that's been independent, as somebody that's never signed these big deals, as somebody that's never given up my stuff to a big corporation, I find that all of these music artists and celebrities and news influencers that go the corporate route, they do it, they get the money, they get the millions of dollars, they get the fame, and then they cry about it. You could have worked as hard as me without a corporation, but you didn't do it. Steven Crowder's had a corporation for 10 years. Taylor Swift could have not signed to a major label, but she did sign to a major label, and then she cried about, Scooter Braun and other people owning her royal. Oh my gosh, she's such a victim. With hundreds of millions of dollars, she's a victim because someone bought her music. You can't be forced to sell your music. No one can buy something from you unless you sell it. She didn't have the rights to it, so someone else sold her music because she already sold her music. It's not like someone just stole it. She sold it for the money. She sold it for the deal. She sold it for the advance. She sold it for the big shows. And then once she sells it, she acts like, well, I want it back. Well, you can't get it back because you already sold it. And it's like with Steven Crowder. He's been at a corporation for a decade. To me, it sounds like he's trying to blackmail some company into giving him a better deal because he's crying about it instead of just talking to them, trying to negotiate. It's like, I don't really have that much sympathy for people that are like, oh, I'm a kid and I got this corrupt deal from Daily Wire and well, don't sign it then. And if you have no leverage, go work on your own. Don't let Ben Shapiro plug you and Matt Walsh plug you and Jeremy Boring fund you, because that stuff costs money. And if they're going to spend money on you and take time and turn you from nothing into something, it's not crazy for them to own your social media because you couldn't have done it without them. So I don't owe anyone shit. I don't owe Crowder shit. I don't owe Shapiro shit. I don't owe Fox News shit. I built this from the ground up by myself. I own everything. No one can take it because I didn't sell it. You know what I'm saying? But people who sell out, sell their soul, work for the corporation, do all this stuff, make millions of dollars, now all of a sudden they want to go the independent route, then do it, dude. But don't not go the independent route. Take all the money, take all the stuff, and then act like you're shocked that you don't own stuff because you sold it to somebody to get the leg up. That's just how it works. It works in every aspect of the business. So was that a bad deal? It's hard to tell because he covered up 95% of it, didn't show how much he made, didn't show how long the contract was. Was it a year contract, a month contract, 2 years contract, 5 years contract? Were you making $1 million, $5 million, $50 million? No one knows because he's being disingenuous about it, and he's using it to get people to his email list, to try to create his own business, to basically make his own social media, which is fine. I think that's a great hustle to be like, yeah, I'm gonna, or a great work ethic. Like, yeah, I'm corrupt. It's corrupt. Give me your emails. It's corrupt. Half off lawyers. It's corrupt. Go to my website. That's fine. I'm not mad at his grind, and I don't like Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, or whoever he's talking about. I don't know enough to defend them on any sort of moral level. They do some good work, but in general, I'm not doing this to stand up for them. I'm just giving it to you raw as somebody that doesn't really owe anything to either side. This is truly how I feel. It seems like he got a crappy deal. In my opinion, it sounds like he's been coddled by corporations for 10 years. He's never had to negotiate or I don't know. Now, instead of confronting the company and ripping it up and starting his own business or just saying that's a garbage deal, he's the only person who's gotten a bad deal before, he's acting like he's some sort of hero, basically blackmailing them publicly into trying to get a better deal, or he's going to expose them, and using this as leverage to collect emails and hire new content creators and basically try to take over whatever market that they previously had and be like, I'm going to be the new one, as he's blackmailing them. That's just how I see it. It's he's oh, all you creators come to me. I'll help you. What are you going to sign every creator? This is not reasonable. Like, if Daily Wire or Blaze TV signs somebody and pays them money, they're trying to make money in return. You can't just pay thousands of people that are making $0. Like, Crowder doesn't have the money to do that. Like, what's he going to do? You can only hire so many people. And if you hire Crowder, it's not crazy to make sure he works, does enough stuff. And sometimes people don't want to do that. I don't want to do that personally, but for the right deal, I would get my ass in line and, do a Monday through Friday show. But here's the thing. Do you hear me crying? Although I don't like Daily Wire that much, do you hear me like, oh, they're oppressing me with a bad contract? Like, just do it yourself then, Crowder. It sounds to me like he doesn't want to do it himself. And it's a lot of money and work that when you don't have a corporation funding you like Blaze or CRTV, it's not easy. It's not easy to go independent. So try it, do it. But it's hard for me to feel bad for musicians who sell out to corporations and cry about it, or people who've worked for corporations for 10 years get a bad contract and act like they're saving all the kids of the world because everybody's getting fined $250,000. Of course they're not, because no one's making that much. But I do think that this is a great thing, because it gets the discussion in about how to negotiate contracts, how to turn down contracts, how to rip them up. You don't sign certain things. But, if you say you have 5 followers, nobody knows who you are, you don't feel like working hard, you're not the type of person to put in 10 years of work and 15 years of work like I did. I put in 10 years of work, never made a single dollar. Imagine spending tens of thousands of hours working towards your goal and not making money and still going. That's what I did. Are you willing to do that? Most aren't. If you're not, why not sign to Daily Wire, have him plug you in, make you a star, own your stuff, you make 6 figures a year, and they created a whole stream of revenue for you that wouldn't exist without their work. I don't agree with everybody at Daily Wire, but like, they are a massive corporation. They do have a lot of leverage. They do have a lot of money and resources, and I'm sure that they could take somebody random and make them into some sort of star. So should Daily Wire let them get an amazing deal like Steven Crowder's going to get the same deal as a random kid? No, Steven Crowder has more leverage than almost anybody in the conservative movement. So he's far from the victim. Use your leverage, get a good deal. If it's not good, try to negotiate it into a better thing privately. If you can't do that, rip it up and do your own thing. But what's smarter to do is mislead people, cover up how much he's making, not fully explain how it works, say it's like every kid's getting this contract when it's not true, get an email list, funnel people to that. And now when he creates his new thing, he's used this as leverage to basically, get a huge spotlight. And it's smart. I also like business. I mean, everybody does their own thing, but it's like people who work for corporations for 10 years who haven't really like said that much important. Like, now all of a sudden they're blowing up Big Con because they got a bad contract. It's not what's really happening. It's not like this, but it's interesting, and it's definitely, I'm glad it happened, and I'm not mad at Crowder or anyone, because it provides an opportunity to have these conversations. So someone said he's been on his own and he makes lots. He's trying to get individuals like you to not give in to the BS. I think he's doing well. I'm not saying he's broke or anything. I think he's doing great. I think he's done it with a corporation. I think he's done a lot by himself. And now he's in a position where he can either go independent or sign to someone else. And he got a bad deal. He got a bad deal from somebody, and he's trying to... All I'm saying is, if you're going to call it out and basically blackmail a company, that's what he's doing. Basically saying, you better change this. Like, dude, it's really whack. This is coming from somebody that doesn't like any of these people. Like, if I get a bad deal from a company and I'm like, you better do, like, you're basically blackmailing them to give you a better deal. I'm sorry. That's not how you do a contract. Like, whether it's Newsmax, it's like, either negotiate. If it doesn't work, it's all good. You don't publicly basically be like, give me a better deal or else I'm going to say something. Like, negotiate for a better deal, Steven Crowder. You're Steven Crowder. Do you hear Francis Ngannou doing that? Francis Ngannou just got dropped from the UFC. Do you hear him crying? Oh, I'm going to blackmail you. Like, dude, do you know why Francis Ngannou doesn't do that? Because he's going to make tens of millions of dollars boxing. He's going to box Tyson Fury or someone like a Jake Paul type character and make a fortune. So he doesn't care that his deal went bad with the UFC, because Ngannou has so much leverage, he can go make more money somewhere else. Same with Crowder. It's like, dude, he's not this innocent victim. He has more leverage than most people in the conservative media space, if not the most. Go get yourself a good deal. And if you can't, work by yourself. Like, negotiate it. I don't know. Am I wrong? That's my opinion. So if you don't agree, it's no big deal, but that's my take. I'm going to read some I'm going to read some comments and then I'm going to roll out. Let me know what you think about Trump and Lindsey Graham. Let me know what you think about Albert Bourla getting confronted. Let me know what you think about the Crowder stuff. And also let me know what you think about Trump saying it saved 100 million lives. And once again, dodging the question about safety and efficacy. He said he's pointing out that there's people taking those contracts though. But here's what you're not getting though. If you don't have leverage, you get a worse contract. If you do have Crowder leverage, here's what I want to know. It's people are taking those contracts. What's the contract? He didn't explain what the contract is. He showed the worst parts of a contract. There's always going to be bad. How much is he making? Justin Bieber gave up his whole thing for $200 million. Neil Young sold his royalties for $100 million. This is how much was Crowder making to sell his YouTube channel? Like everything is for sale. How much? I mean, it had to be a massive, massive contract for him to get $1 million fine, $250,000 fine, not on social media. Like if someone came to me and said, Anomaly, we'll buy your Facebook and YouTube, we'll own it forever, but we'll give you $20 million. And I make a video and say, oh my gosh, somebody gave me a bad deal where they want to own my Facebook or YouTube channel and fine me. Well, how much was the deal? Crowder's not even telling you what the deal was. You're assuming, oh my gosh, other people are taking that deal. What deal? He didn't even explain the deal. How much was he offered? Do you think Alex Stein's getting the same deal that Crowder's getting? Of course not. And I'm not saying I like Alex. I'm just saying like everyone's not getting that deal. You think Candace Owens signed a deal like that? I doubt it. I highly doubt Candace Owens signed a deal like that. And if Candace Owens ever got a deal like that, I'm sure she got a crap load of money for it. There's a trade-off, you know? That's how it works. So he's covering up the main part of the deal. If he got $20 million for his Facebook page or YouTube page, it's not a bad deal. It's just not a deal. He didn't want to sell his business. He didn't want to sell a bunch of ads. Understandable, but it's like you get what I'm saying? I'm making it pretty obvious. Someone said Shapiro signed a deal like that. How much leverage did Shapiro have when he started? To me, it's just like, read your deal. Don't sign it if you want. But some people sign these deals, get the fame, get the fortune. There's a trade-off. If you want certain things, you have to sell certain things. You want a $10 million contract, you sell your YouTube channel. You want a bunch of fame and fortune you can't work for yourself, you sell it to someone else. You want a big conglomerate paying your bills. You know, if you don't want to pay your staff $1.2 million a year and you want to make $3 million a year, there's going to be some trade-offs because no business is going to want to shell out $4.2 million for you with no clause that says you can just take a 3-month break. You don't have to make content. You don't have to sell ads. That's how business works. It's impossible to know how bad of a deal it was because he didn't show how much he made. And he did that probably purposely because it was such an astronomical amount that nobody would feel that much sympathy because they'd be like, oh my gosh, you would have made more money than I'm going to make in my entire life. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree, but take what I'm saying and add it to your arsenal of things that you know. If you agree with me, that's fine. If you disagree, you don't. But I guarantee you at least learn something that you're not going to hear on Tim Pool, that nobody else is going to say. I'm going to say it. That's what I think. You don't have to agree. But just take it as part of the equation and think what you want. But the truth is it's impossible to know what he's talking about because he's not naming names. He hasn't mentioned one person who signed that sort of deal. And if he mentions a person that signs that deal, they have to show their deal. Someone said, I sound jealous. I'm not jealous. I don't care. I don't want to be Crowder. I don't need anything. I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. God is great. My life is beautiful. It's nothing to do with jealousy. It's just like, there's all these people signing this deal. Name one. They're doing this to me. Who? Here's what they did. How much you make. He's leaving everything out. Find me 5 people, Crowder. 5 people who signed that exact deal. I bet there's not even 2. You found one person who signed that deal? How much leverage did they have? What did they get out of it? How much money did they make? You know what I'm saying? Where did they start from? Did they start from, I'm Steven Crowder and I have 5 million views? Or did they start from, I have nothing, give me a chance and you can own some of my stuff? Like he's not telling the full story. Whether you want to admit it or not, what I'm saying here is the truth. And the only way to really know the truth is if he tells more. You can't cover up how much you made. You can't not name a single other person. Who is it? Who else has signed a deal like this? Who's just like you? Name one person. No? Then everybody's going to speculate. You can disagree with me. I can say this. You can say that. But the truth is it doesn't matter until he reveals more. And he may never because what is revealed is probably going to be, a dud. But it might not be. That's just my take. Someone said, I get you want to control the content, but fines for getting strikes is the most disturbing part. Well, I'll say this too real quick, and I want to keep this under an hour. I appreciate you bringing it up because this is the point that I made. Big tech is out of control. Obviously, there's a lot of shills and losers in right-wing media. There's a lot of censorship in right-wing media, both in the political angle and also just like you're not going to get invited if you talk about the Israeli speech laws. That all exists. But the point that I'm trying to get to is, and I'm glad you brought that up because this is the one part I forgot. As an individual content creator, if I get demonetized on Facebook, I lose a lot of money. If Crowder's by himself without Blaze or Daily Wire or whoever he's working with, if he gets demonetized, he loses probably millions of dollars. This is not good, but this is the sad reality of content creation. When my TikTok gets deleted, I lose a little leverage. My TikTok did get deleted. It's not the most important thing, but it doesn't help. If you get, so without any deal, we lose money when we get demonetized. So in the back of everybody's head, when I make this video, I know I could get demonetized. Anything could get demonetized because Facebook and YouTube don't give a crap. They'll demonetize you for fake reasons and not even answer you. So we all know this. So take out the corporation. This is not a bombshell. If you work on Facebook and you work on YouTube and you work on Instagram and you work on the big platforms that me and Crowder have the most followers on, YouTube, Facebook, etc., we lose money if we get demonetized. That's bad. So if someone signs, once again, we don't know how much the deal is because Crowder didn't reveal it, which would make a lot of thing. If he loses 25% of his income, if his YouTube gets demonetized or if he gets a strike, he loses a certain amount of money. He's trying to say, well, this is them agreeing with big tech and censoring you. Now, instead of Crowder losing millions of dollars, if he loses, his YouTube channel or he gets demonetized, now the company that's taking on Crowder's channel is going to lose millions of dollars. So it's not that crazy that they're going to try to protect themselves from that. Like, he left out 95% of his contract. How much were they paying his employees? How much were they paying him? What did they want for his YouTube channel? Like, he had to have some crazy, in order for Crowder to give up his YouTube channel, I would say his YouTube channel is worth 10 million plus. If they didn't give him over $10 million for his entire YouTube channel, that's a bad deal for him. But also, did they really want to own his whole YouTube channel? Like, what aren't you saying? So the point that I'm getting to is, he's acting like it's so crazy that they want him to lose a little bit of money if his YouTube channel loses money. But the truth is, everyone loses money when their YouTube channel gets demonetized. So to me, that's not like them working with big tech. It's them trying to protect themselves from going in the negative on Steven Crowder, who has a bunch of employees, who most of his stock is in his YouTube channel. Like, that's his value. Here's the sad reality. If Crowder gets his YouTube channel deleted, it's not his fault, but now he loses a lot of leverage. He can have a Fox show, somebody could pay him, but his leverage is in his social media. That's just the reality of it. So people are getting mad at me, but this is just the truth. It's like, who's going to want to sign him to a $10 million deal if there's no clauses that say he has to show up to work? Who's going to want to sign him to this huge deal and not try to protect themselves? Me as a content creator, I'd say, hey, take that out, but they might not want to. Clearly, that deal involved them getting control of his YouTube channel, and it had to be a massive bombshell deal. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but it's true. It's like, I don't understand. It's hard to really say what's going on because he's covering up most of it, using it as leverage to start his own company and not revealing what the deal really was. If I sign a $100 million deal, look at the $250,000 fine that I'd get. Like, okay, off of what money? Like, what do you have to do for them? Like, what, like, you're Steven Crowder. It seems really desperate to me. It's just like, rip the contract up, make your own network, and call it out. Like, you can't really decide what's going on. I mean, what he did is going to appeal to people who don't know anything about contracts and be like, oh my God, that's so crazy. It's like, because he's covering up 95% of it. And yes, bad contracts exist, but it's not. Someone said he has a few sponsors and he's been demonetized for over 5 years. Then that contract makes no sense because it's like, why would you penalize me for something that's already happening? Basically, you're just telling me if his YouTube channel is demonetized and they say we're going to take 25% of your income if your YouTube channel is demonetized, then that means that's a 75% contract. Just rewrite the whole thing and take that out of there and just pay me what you're telling me. Like, it's just negotiated. I don't understand. Like, it's a crappy contract that he could have negotiated or ripped up, but it's like, just show me the whole thing and I'll tell you how bad it is. That's my take. Show me the whole thing. I'll tell you how bad it is. But you cover up everything and only show like the worst 3 parts, but you don't show all the things they're doing for you, if they're paying your staff, how much money you're making. Then it's basically to appeal to low information people who don't know that much. That's my opinion. Don't have to agree with it, but that's my take. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Thank you, and have a good day. I'll be back soon. Let me know what you think about the Lindsey Graham stuff, the Trump stuff, and what you're thinking about.